Hello again, makeup friends. Today I'm going to be taking a look at my bronzer and highlighter collection and seeing if there's any in there that I'm ready to part ways with. Much like when I decluttered my blushes recently, I don't have a goal number in mind or a percentage that I want to remove from the collection, but right now what I really feel like doing is just reacquainting myself with all of these items. So this is really just more so about refreshing myself and determining if there are any that just don't fit my own particular needs at this point in time. I'm going to start with bronzers because they're all going to hit along the same notes is my guess, but we're going to start with bronzers, so I'm going to clear everything else out of the way. We'll get through the bronzers and then we'll take a look at the highlighters. I'll be right back. All right, so here we go. These are the bronzers here. This one and this little trio here, we will get to them. These were both PR items. The rest I have purchased myself. So let's start with the cream products and then we'll move into the powders. All right, so I have two cream bronzers. This one is from Tarte. It's their Breezy Cream Bronzer in Seychelles. And I have hit pan on this one. And then this here is ancient in my collection. So ancient, in fact, that they have sort of rebranded this product. And I think they've made some tweaks to the ingredients as well. But this is the Soleil Tan de Chanel. Again, goes by another name now. And this is going to be in a Project Pan update, but you're getting the spoiler here. There's really not that much left, but having said that, this is still going to last quite some time because I only use a very little bit at any given point. But I will do a little comparison. I don't really feel the need to get rid of either of them, to be honest, and I have made good progress obviously on both of them. So starting off with Tarte, this one's a little bit deeper than the Chanel. We'll follow it up with Chanel up here. So the Chanel one does seem quite orange. It works on my skin, but I kind of do have to use a light hand. Frankly, I have to use a light hand with both of them. I am definitely going to keep the Chanel. And again, I don't really feel the need to get rid of the Tarte, but I am going to stick it in maybes anyways, just because it is so deep. And obviously, like I said, I have got quite a good amount of use out of it. Both of these are still very creamy and emollient. This one, I'm honestly shocked at the longevity of the product because I have had this for many years. Like, I want to say at least 5 years. This one, not nearly as long, maybe 3, I would say, but this one's at least 5, quite possibly 6 or 7, quite possibly. Don't quote me on that, I'm not entirely sure. But I'm going to put this into just a maybe category on its own for right now. And Chanel we're going to continue working on. Now these all kind of flow one to the next. So we just talked about cream bronzers. I have the two PR items that I want to talk about. But this also kind of rides that line because it is a stick bronzer. So not quite a cream, but definitely not a powder. So this one is from Merit, and I have it in the shade Quince. And let's do a little swatcheroo. This is quite a nice product. It is very, again, emollient on the skin. It does blend out really easily. You can sheer it out. Very similar to the Chanel in terms of the color and undertone. My only concern with this product, and time will tell, I've had their stick highlighter. It's not in the same packaging as this, but same kind of idea, and it went funky really quickly. This one, so far, I don't detect any scent on. Now, granted, I've had it since, oh gosh, maybe June would be my guess. But I have been using the Chanel in place of this one, but I did use this for quite some time when I first got it and have really enjoyed it. So when the Chanel is done, I can see myself getting a lot more use out of this, possibly even finishing it up. Again, now that I see it on here, it's kind of making me side-eye the Tarte one simply because it is so much deeper. So it's still in maybe at this point, but I am giving it some serious side eye, but I will be keeping this one. And then the other product that I received in PR is from Kaleidos, and this is a trio. This is the Symphony Contour Trio in Light. So there's like a bit of a highlighting slash setting powder, a contour, and a bronzer. I don't get a ton of use out of this one, although every now and then I will use it to set my concealer under my eyes, but it's a matte product, so I don't really use it as like a highlighter per se. It would just be more for brightening up underneath my eyes. But the contour powder and the bronzer itself are both quite nice. Again, a very, very nice formula to these powders. Very soft, they don't kick up in the pan, they're not dusty on the skin. And again, they blend out really nicely as well. These ones do have quite a cooler tone to them than many of my other bronzers. So I would expect that obviously from the contour shade, but the bronzer itself is actually quite cool toned and a little bit gray based when I look at it, especially in comparison to the warmth of the Merit. But I do actually really like both of these. I can kind of use both of them as contour rather than bronzer, but this one does actually work as a bronzer as well, even though the undertone looks a lot cooler because of that tone to it, like the depth of the brown that's in there. It does work as a bronzer on me, and again, the contour shade is quite nice and not too harsh on my skin tone. But I want to bring in this one here to do a comparison before I make any final decisions on Kaleidos. So this is the Natasha Denona Sculpting Powder. As you can see, I don't think there were, oh no, this one is. It's the shade 1 Light, and I have got quite a bit of use out of this one. As you can see, I have hit pan. And this one, they're both contour powders, so between this and the Kaleidos, but this one is much warmer than the contour powder that you see there from Kaleidos. So this one can actually work as a bronzer on me as well. There it is. And again, you can see, obviously I've already mentioned it, how much use I've got out of it. It's not a product that I wish to declutter at this point. I definitely want to keep that. I don't do a ton of contouring anymore. I used to rely on it quite heavily back when I weighed about 100 and some odd pounds more than I do now. Just anything to try to give myself a bit of a jawline, but I feel like I'm doing okay now, and I don't use a lot of contouring. But every now and then when I'm just having fun with my makeup and just willing to spend the time on all the additional steps that I don't normally do before, say, work every day, I will bring in contour at that point. So then this one here, this is the other contour powder that I wanted to compare with the other ones. So this is from Vive, and this is the Modern Bronzer Duo in Light. So I will go ahead and swatch this powder first, and then since we're in here, we may as well swatch the bronzing powder as well. So the more contoury powder and then the bronzer over here. So just lay that beside the Natasha Denona. Actually quite similar. I think the Vive is maybe a little bit deeper than Natasha. And then the bronzer is quite orangey as well. So there we have them. You know what, with it all swatched out, I don't know that I need the Vive, to be honest. I don't really reach for it, and that is quite an orange bronzer. You know what, this one is going to join the Tarte in my little mini purgatory setup over here for now, and I'll circle back to it. I might want to swatch this as I swatch the other bronzers that I have. But this, in looking at it, it is really cool toned. But you know what, I want to keep that because I don't have anything else quite that cool toned aside from maybe eyeshadows. I'm gonna keep this. And then there were 3. So these are the last of the bronzing powders that I have. We've got Makeup by Mario in light medium. We've got Fenty Beauty, just a deluxe sample here in Shady Biz. and then Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Bronzer in shade 2. Let's open them up and then get to some swatching. Oh, you know what? There is one more. It's hiding. Hourglass. This one is the Ambient Light. What is it? Ambient Lighting Bronzer in Luminous Bronze Light. Moving on. There's what that one looks like. And then the Makeup by Mario. So let's go ahead and swatch all these and we'll see just what we're working with here. Now, if you watched my blush declutter, I was talking about the Makeup by Mario blushes not being particularly soft, like the actual feel of the product. The bronzer is different. The bronzer is quite smooth. Not as smooth as the Charlotte Tilbury, but smooth nonetheless. So there we have it in reverse order. So this one is the Hourglass, this one is Makeup by Mario, Fenty, and Charlotte Tilbury. I don't know why my finger looks, I don't think you can see it in the viewfinder, but it looks like I've rubbed it in like, I don't know, black ink or something. So I'm just gonna wash that finger off and try swatching it again, because it's possible I had stuck my finger in something that I shouldn't have stuck it in. Okay, so the finger's dry again. Let's go back in. That looks better. Okay, that weird darkness is gone. All right, let's do this. So this one is Hourglass, Makeup by Mario, Fenty, and Charlotte Tilbury. And this one I think needs a little bit more help. That's so weird, it's coming up again. Maybe it's just something in this powder itself. I've never noticed it to be weird like that. Anyways, it doesn't seem to be translating when I swatch it, so that's good. Could just be the undertone or something just peeking through that way. I don't even know if it's picking up on camera. It just looks like my finger's dirty. And it's not, I promise it's not. But it looks that way. Okay, so there's the 4 of them there. And then, like I said, I do want to re-swatch the actual bronzing powder from the Vive duo. I'm just going to put it over here just for some comparison. Looking similar to the Hourglass. So the Hourglass one does have more of a satin kind of finish to it. Almost shimmery, but definitely not glittery. The other ones are a lot more matte in finish. A matte bronzer is typically what I'm looking for when I am buying a bronzer, but this one was so highly reviewed back in the day that FOMO took hold, and I was good. I just bought the smaller size of it, and it'll still last a lifetime and a half, but it's not my go-to preference. Having said that, I don't mind this one. I think if it was even just a hair more sparkly, I would not be wearing it. But this, it comes off more as a sheen, certainly not glittery. So now, in looking at the actual shades themselves, I think I can confirm that I do not need the Vive Duo. The contour shade in there really didn't bring anything new to the table, and nor does the bronzer, because I have the Hourglass one. And although I just spent all that time talking about the finish of it, it is nice to have something different in the collection as well. So with the shades being this similar, it really does come down to finish. I'm going to keep Hourglass, and I am going to let the Vive one go. And then with these 3, they're so similar. It's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. In fact, when it comes down to Makeup by Mario and Charlotte Tilbury, I think if I had these 2, like one on each cheek, even if I knew that I was wearing 2 different bronzers, I don't think I'd be able to pick them out. Having said that, do I want to get rid of either of them? No. So I'm going to keep these 2. They don't take up a ton of room. And frankly, the packaging of this just gets me. And then this is the most recent bronzer that I bought, so I don't really want to declutter it yet. So there's my reasoning there. Also, these shades are just exactly the kind of bronzing shades that I really like. This one is a little bit orange on me. I can make it work, but it is a little bit oranger. These would be my preference. Shady Biz sits squarely between these two. I don't really feel I need the three of them, so I'm going to let the Fenty go as well. And then that brings me to decide finally over Tarte. And just given how dark it is, especially in comparison even to these powder ones, I am going to say goodbye to it. I have got good use out of it. Feel I've given it its fair shake, but I am going to move it on out. All right, so these are the 7 bronzers that I'm going to keep. These are the 3 that I am going to declutter. And now we are on to highlighters. With highlighters, I have 22 in total. 3 of them are liquid, 1 is a stick. Let's start with those and then we'll come back for the powders. Okay, so let me introduce the players. First up, we've got a liquid highlighter here from Annabelle, Canadian company. I don't think they make this one anymore, which is honestly a shame because it is a fantastic product. This is the Enlighten Highlight Drops in Champagne. Then I have one of the Nude Sticks ones here. This came in a little trio of deluxe size samples. This is the Oliver Face Highlighter in Bubbly Bebe. And then we've got 2 of the Rare Beauty liquid highlighters. We've got Mesmerize and Enlighten. Also, side note, to the people that watched my blush declutter and who chimed in to let me know that the brush comes off of the butt of those ones, thank you so much. For anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, let's just do a very quick sidebar here. So I have one of the blushes from Nude Sticks here. This is the full size. It comes with a brush on the bottom, and I was lamenting how disgusting it is because I can't wash it. And then what am I supposed to do because it's attached to the blush, blah, blah, blah. And some very helpful people told me that this thing just comes off. I could have gone my entire life and never known that, but there you have it. So if you have the highlighter in a full size or any of the blush sticks, you can use the brush and then wash it, should you feel so inclined. And now you know. Okay, so back to these. Let's go ahead and just do a little swatchy swatch. So there is obviously the Nude Sticks. This one here used to come with like a pointy thing, like a pointy applicator thing, but it stopped working for some reason, which is why this is all like peeling apart because I was squeezing it so hard that the side was busting open. So eventually I just pulled it off and now I just squeeze the product up to the top and just run my brush along it, but we'll use my finger for today's purposes. There is that one. And then the Rare Beauties. Let's start with Enlighten. I will say, don't be nervous about these ones from Rare Beauty, although they look very similar to the blushes. They are not nearly as tricky to work with. I love their cream, liquid, whatever blushes, but they are hella pigmented, and you really do have to figure out how to work with them. But once you get that down, you're golden. So here they are in this order, right here. And I will tell you, this one is not going anywhere. Again, you will see it in an upcoming Project Pan video. And neither are these, to be honest. Now, I have to be perfectly honest. I had decluttered this one, Mesmerize, ages ago. Put it in my daughter's collection. She used it, and then somehow it trickled its way back into mine. I don't know if she just maybe forgot it on my desk and I squirreled it away. I don't know, but happy little accident that it was because I actually really like it. So I want to keep both of these. Again, they blend out so nicely, and same with the one from Annabelle. But this one here from Nude Sticks, it has almost like a copper undertone to it. It's quite deep for a highlighter. It will work in like July and August when I have the most depth in my skin, but I don't want to keep it just for like a few weeks out of the year. I also just don't really love the stick mechanism for a highlighter. So I'm going to get rid of nude sticks, but I am going to keep these other 3 liquids. So I just want to address up front that all of these powder highlighters I have received in PR. At one point I had the entire collection of Kaleidos highlighters and of the Odin's Eye highlighters. Obviously some of them I have passed on to friends, decluttered out of my collection. And then these ones are both from, damn it, I should know how to say their name. Florasis? Take your pick. Not entirely sure. But these ones were sent to me this summer along with some makeup removing items, which, whew, love those. The highlighters themselves are also pretty, but I just wanted you to know what was gifted to me in PR. As well, a lot of these ones in particular are duochrome / multichrome. The other powders that I have do not have that element to them, so I do want to start with these ones, and then we'll talk about these when I look at the other ones, because again, they are not shifty. They're so shifty. They're not like multichrome / duochrome. That's sort of what I'm getting at. So let's swatch these. So Kaleidos, we've got their Space Age highlighters. You can see the names of them as we go. Gifted, Moon Cruiser, Star Surfer, Skywalker, and Prophecy. These 2 are the more multichrome, and then these ones have just like a colorful aspect to them. So let's start off with Gifted. They are incredibly pretty. They really are. I just don't get a ton of use from them, so I wouldn't be surprised if I don't find at least one of these that I can pass on. This one here is Prophecy. And the feel of these highlighters is silky smooth. Like, these are beautiful powders. Moon Cruiser over here. This is the one that I think I've got the most use out of. Got that sort of purple shift to it. And then Skywalker. Is more blue based. And then we've got Star Surfer. This one's more pink. And then we may as well bring in the 2 from Odin's Eye as well. So at first we have Lavender Dream, and then this one is Moon Talk. So again, Lavender Dream. And Moon Talk. This one's more green. So in previous declutters, I had sort of compared the Kaleidos with the Odin's Eye in terms of their color, and where there was some overlap, I did sort of pick between the 2. And that's sort of why there's more Kaleidos than Odin's Eye, because I like the Kaleidos formula a little bit more than the Odin's Eye, but only marginally. So there they all are swatched out, and they are quite pretty, but I do not use them very often at all. All right, so now comes decision time. So this one here is the only one that is really green. When I look on my arm, the second one here, Prophecy from Kaleidos, also has some green on it from my perspective. The viewfinder, you can't really see it as much, but it also has some other colors going on in there. Whereas this is the only one that is like truly green. And although again, it's not something that I reach for very often, it is unique. So I do want to keep it for that purpose. Again, I don't tend to gravitate towards any of these on a daily basis, but depending on the makeup look that I'm doing, sometimes a more colorful highlighter feels appropriate for the occasion. So this one here, it's just not really doing much. That was Star Surfer. It's okay, but like compared to the rest of them, it's kind of bland. Like there's really not as much reflection to it. There's not really a distinct color to it. So this one is going to be a goodbye. So between Moon Cruiser and Lavender Dream, I've got two purple highlighters, but I like the Kaleidos better, so Odin's Eye is going to go, but Moon Cruiser will stay. I really don't think I need both of these ones between Gifted and Prophecy. Sorry, I make weird noises when I decide, which I'm not even really aware that I do it, so it makes me a little bit nervous about, like, in real life when I'm hemming and hawing over, I don't know, tomatoes at the grocery store. I'm probably really questionable to other people that are shopping. Anyways, that being said, I just don't know. Okay, I'm gonna keep Skywalker because it's blue and I like blue, and it's one of the ones that I've got the most use out of already anyways, so that indicates to me that I might get more use out of it again in future. So now I'm really hemming and hawing over these two and whether I feel I need both or if I can let one of them go. You know, I don't think I need both, I really don't, but I'm going to keep both because the decision's too difficult right now. Okay. All right, so here we are. Now you're gonna see a bit of an overarching theme in that I really like champagne highlights, so you're gonna see that reflected in here. I will say there are two that are absolutely not going anywhere. So let's start with those two. So this one here is Cookie from Benefit. And I'm not sure if you can see, there's quite the dent going on right here. Freaking love this highlighter. It is second only to my beloved Jouer Citrine. That is my absolute pinnacle favorite highlighter, but this is a very, very close second. It just melds into the skin so beautifully, and it doesn't look like makeup when you're wearing it. It just looks like you drink a lot of water and you're very healthy. And then the other one that I absolutely do not want to get rid of is this one from Stila. This is the Heaven's Hue highlighter in Kitten. I have had this forever. I've had it since I was making videos in my bedroom, which was probably a solid 6 years ago. And it shows. I did put it into a project pan at one point, have hit pan on it, but this is going to last till the end of days. But the formula of this is unlike any other highlighter I have. It is so incredibly smooth. It doesn't kick up at all in the pan. It's just this gorgeous texture, so silky. So there she is. It's just another beautiful, beautiful highlighter. I'd be very hard pressed, honestly. I know I said this is my second favorite. These two are very, very similar, not going anywhere. Okay, so those are the two that are most definitely not going anywhere. Now what do we want to talk about? Okay, let's talk about the two that I got in PR from Florasis. I'm just going to call them that. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but here we are. So these are two of their highlighters. These are the Relief Luminous Glow highlighters. This one here is Quartz Glow, and then we have Amber Glow. So let's take a look at what Quartz Glow, good Lord, I'm struggling so hard here. Here, let's move these out of the way. And there is Amber Glow. I have to say, I am so impressed by the design elements on these. Like, they are just beautiful, beautiful products. Of course, the more you use it, the more it's going to get messed up, but yeah, it's brand new, so it's beautiful. I have used these a couple of times. I can't say they are my favorite highlighters, but they are beautiful in the pan. I mean, until I did that. But here is, crap, what's it called? Quartz Glow. And then Amber Glow over here. I don't tend to enjoy these kind of colors on me. Just the pink doesn't really go with my undertone. So I don't think I'm going to keep that one. I've definitely got to find a friend for this, and I have somebody in mind because I think it'll work out beautifully on her skin tone because she's a little bit deeper complected than I am. They are very, very smooth, not as smooth as the Stila for sure, but still beautiful, blend out nicely, no glitter, but super, super reflective. I'm going to keep this one. Okay, let's just take it from the top here. So this is Becca Champagne Pop. It's been around forever. I have hit pan on this one. This was from like the original launch back in, I don't know, 1894. Like it feels like it was forever ago, and yet it's still going strong. These are quite powdery, so they do kick up quite a bit in the pan. Just make use of this real estate here. It can be a little bit too deep on my skin tone, especially as we move into the winter months and I don't see sun forever. So I have to go in with a very light hand, but it is pretty. It's not as reflective and shiny as Cookie and the one from Stila, but it is a pretty highlighter, definitely more gold than champagne in my opinion. I think I'm gonna put it in a maybe at this point. It's really not a highlighter that I reach for all that often. And like I said, it can be a little deep on me. So I'm just gonna stick it in maybes and I'll circle back to it after I've done some more swatching. Okay, so let's take a look at Makeup by Mario. This is the Soft Glow Highlighter in Pearl. And these ones are very smooth as well. This one tends to be a little bit more on the subtle side. So it's more of just like a breath of a highlighter. So you can see, for example, the Stila versus this one, it's very subdued. Not necessarily a bad thing. It depends on what you're looking for. For me, I do like a little bit more oomph to my highlighter than what this one gives. If you like a very subtle makeup look, like a no makeup kind of deal, you might really, really like this one. Just not something that I reach for a lot. Having said that, highlighters are going to be very difficult for me to get rid of, so I'm going to put it into maybe, and I will circle back to it. This one here from Dior as well is also very subtle. So this is the, oh Christ, what are you called? The Dior Skin Nude Luminizer in shade 2. I have got good use out of it, but it's not a knock your socks off kind of highlighter, that's for sure. A little bit brighter than the Makeup by Mario. A little bit lighter in tone as well, which helps it stand out a bit more on my skin. This one is going to go into the maybe pile as well. Again, simply because it's on that more subtle side and I don't tend to go for the subtle highlighters, it just kind of kicks around in the drawer and doesn't really get a lot of use. So then we've got these three. So this one here is from Catrice, the More Than Glow highlighter in Beyond Golden Glow. I remember really liking this at one point, but I haven't used it in ages. Ooh, and she is quite deep. That could be why I haven't been reaching for it. I say quite deep and then you can't really see it at all, but when I look at it, it is, again, quite golden. It's very similar. I mean, I know they're miles apart now on my arm. Here, I can put a little swatch just beside the Champagne Pop. Quite similar, to be honest. Catrice might be just a teeny bit like brighter, but very, very similar. Certainly don't think I need both. But we'll see. I'm gonna have to circle back to some of these, definitely, and just make some final decisions. I am most definitely running out of real estate on this arm. You know what, we're gonna try. I never swatch on this arm, but we're gonna try it. Anyways, NARS. This one is in the shade Capri. And I've given this one a good college go, but I just don't, oh shit. I got to swatch with my other finger. I'm not used to doing left-handed swatches. It's just, I've never been able to fall in love with this one. It is very, very smooth, but it just, there's just something about it that just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't set my heart on fire. There. I mean, it's not bad. It's really not. I guess I can show some of the other ones. But like, given the choice between Stila and this one, I'm gonna go for the Stila every time. And that's what I do. I just keep saving this one from Declutter and then not using it. Same with this one here from Givenchy. This came out from holiday a few years ago, like 3, 4 maybe years ago. It's the Mystic Glow powder in Mystic Pink. And I fell in love with it because it had a star on it and because sometimes that's enough. And then my husband watched one of my videos where I was raving about it and he bought it for me for Christmas. And that pretty much singular fact, well, I guess those 2 facts, the star and the fact that my husband gave it to me, is what makes me save this every damn time. But it is a rather glittery highlighter and I just don't reach for it. And I want to love it. I truly want to love it. Oh, you can't see the glitter on here. But it is so sparkly and it's just not something that I go for ever. So I think it's time to say goodbye. Like, I have saved it on so many declutters and every time I do, I say, I'm going to use it, and if I don't, I'll declutter it next time, and then I keep saving it and I keep giving it a pass, but I don't ever use it, ever. So this one I'm going to have to say goodbye to, but there they all are swatched out. So now I need to bring in my maybes and make some decisions. Here's the maybe pile. So these 2 are quite similar to each other. These 2 are quite similar to each other. This is on an island on its own. But like I said, I just don't use it. I think a different shade, a little bit more intensity, and I would really, really like the NARS highlighter, but just not this particular one. Now, theoretically, these are all underused in my collection. I could just get rid of all 4. It's too much. I just can't do it. While I am in the mood to do a declutter, obviously, I'm not, frankly, I'm just not pissed off enough to just be like, get rid of everything. I find if I try to declutter stuff when I am like rage cleaning, it's very effective, but then like a day later when I've calmed down and everything's in perspective, I'm like, why did I get rid of all that stuff? Like, I love the cleanliness of my house, but why did I get rid of all that? So I'm thinking a little bit more rationally with this. I don't need all 4. I'm gonna keep 1 of each duo. I'm gonna keep Champagne Pop, say goodbye to Catrice. These 2. Oof. I've got probably similar amounts of use out of both of them. They're so similar to each other. This one's just slightly pinker. The other one is slightly more golden. But the Dior does show up a bit more on my skin. I'm gonna keep the Dior. Makeup by Mario is leaving. Oh crap, I just found this one. This is another Makeup by Mario. This is the Master Crystal Reflector in Quartz. And this one is definitely sparkly. There's not an awful lot of underlying pigment to this. It's more just a very, very sparkly topper. I like it on certain occasions. Like, I kind of like it on the shoulders and sort of neckline décolletage or whatever you call it. It kind of reminds me of like the Diamond Bomb or whatever from Fenty. Very, very similar. Like I said, it doesn't have much of like an underlying pigment, but it just catches the light so nicely. It's little tiny specks of micro glitter. So it doesn't feel chunky or heavy. It is completely smooth. You don't feel any of that texture on there at all. I'm going to keep it. I don't use it a lot simply because there's not many occasions in my life where I really want a lot of sparkle and glitter, but it's nice to have it for an option, so I am going to keep this one. So with the cuts made then, these are the ones that I'm going to be exiting from my collection, and these are the ones that I'm keeping. So through this process then, I have narrowed my collection from 22 to 14 highlighters, and I feel really good about that. And I really am quite happy in having refreshed my memory on all of these. I've really just been using this basically since July, so I haven't really been dabbling into these again. So it's nice to just remind myself of what I have, pare it down. Again, these more colorful ones, I doubt that I'm going to get a ton of use out of, but it is nice to have the options for them. Likewise, this really glittery guy here from Mario, but the rest of them definitely have a place in everyday makeup as well as the liquid ones, so I'm very happy about that. So with that said, thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, just be a decent human being.